Hello everyone, welcome back to Chill Trades, the most accurate stock market channel on YouTube. Appreciate you guys stopping by. We're going to cover Root Insurance today. We cover this stock quite heavily, and there's a couple reasons we want to cover today. One is looking at some insider or institutional buying. Earnings is in a couple months, so about a month and a half. Want to take a peek at that. And then lastly, some important technical updates. So that's what we'll cover. Please sub, please like. I really want to know what you guys think about Root Insurance. What do you think about this price action? It kind of looks like a bottoming, so we'll kind of uncover if that's what's going on. So the first thing we want to look at is Q4. So Q4, I mean, the estimate is insane. $2 loss, pretty significant. And we've talked about earnings pretty heavily. And so what's going to be really interesting here is that what Root said on their last earnings call is that they're going to significantly reduce advertising spend. And that was a big reason why they lost so much money as a business. And so I'm really curious where earnings per share comes in, because $2 with pulling back marketing spend significantly, it might be quite a bit off. And if it's quite a bit off, then people might get excited. Who knows? We can't foretell the future. I hate trading earnings. It's pretty risky. On the flip side, reducing that marketing spend like they mentioned is also going to reduce revenue significantly. And so it's kind of which is worse, losing less money or making less money. It's really hard in a toss up. But this is continuing to be the Achilles heel for this company. We're really going to get an idea of how the Carvana partnership is going. If you know anything about Carvana, Carvana's been blowing up as a company. Car prices are extremely high and elevated. I was just on there the other day looking to sell my car actually to them, and it was like $5,000 over. It's a leased vehicle, $5,000 over what my lease payment is. So I'm making like $5,000. And so they're selling these cars at such a high price point where Carvana is making a lot of money. And if they're selling a lot of cars, then that could potentially have a positive impact on Root Insurance for the new people coming onto the platform through Carvana. So those are things we're kind of paying attention to. Really interesting to see. Who knows with earnings. It's kind of been a who knows so far for Root. And so I think it's going to continue to be that. The next thing I want to look at, I actually don't want to be on that one, is institutions. So we know Carvana, through the partnership, they basically got ownership in the company. But another really interesting is this other company. So I tried to do some research on them. It just looks like some rich oil and gas people. Tell me if you guys know who this other person that bought in on the same day as Carvana. And they own about 11%. So they bought 8 million shares, which is pretty significant. That's not very small purchase of shares. So really interesting that they have another person buying in on this large pullback in the stock. That buying is around the low, I think, or maybe that's when it popped up a little bit. Regardless, where the stock has pulled back significantly. And we see a little bit more buying as of recent. It honestly isn't that much price action. I think people are kind of forgetting about this. And as we know, I'm actually going to bring up one more thing because it's important. And I bring it up in every video, but we know that the shorts control this stock, and we always want to pay attention to where the short float is. So it's come down a little bit, and that's maybe because the stock has been creeping up, but really pay attention to this. And that really comes into the technicals. So when we look at the technicals, we're seeing a little bit of positive momentum here. So these bastards, they faked me out here. I thought we were going to break lower here, and we actually they bought the dip. See if you can see that candle. And so this is where you're going to kind of break down. A lot of times what we'll see is we'll see people flush the stock down and then buy the dip below support. So really big support was around 490. I mentioned it in last Friday's live stream. So if you haven't joined the live streams yet, every Friday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, come hang out. We talk about whatever stocks. We kind of just cover all the stocks together. Okay, let me whatever. I got someone in the room being loud, but what's really interesting is it broke below support and then it got eaten up. So that could potentially be a bullish pattern, because what we saw the next day is we saw another bullish momentum of about 4% today. So a couple things are starting to develop. The first thing that is developing is we're getting close to 50 on RSI. You guys know how I feel about RSI. Below 50 bearish, above 50, and a confirmation above 50 is a change of momentum and pattern for the stock. So we're coming up to this point. Today, we actually closed above the 20 EMA and the exponential moving average and the moving average, which is really interesting. And when you really look at back, we haven't closed above the 20-day very often. You know, got rejected there on this little squeeze higher, which doesn't really count in my book. If we remove that, we're still below the 20 EMA for most of these days. We saw a little bit of pop-up, then we saw a reversal. So that's really what we want to see here. We want to see if tomorrow it stays above. Even if it comes back and tests it, we really want to stay above that 20. Even if it goes sideways, we want to stay above the 20 EMA, because that could be showing a change of pattern, or if you bought this dip, it was at least a good price that it might not come back to. When we're really looking forward, what we really want to see is we had a couple price points. So in the last video we said 315, 320. We really need to get above that price point and confirm above it. And we haven't been able to confirm above it here. We had 2 days and it failed. And so we're going to have to see here, can we stay above 515 to 520, as this is kind of this basing price point right here. If we can do that and stay above the 20 EMA at 530 range, around 530, so 515 to 530, if we can stay above that and confirm it for a couple days, we could continue to have a bullish breakout on root. So that's what we want to take a look at. And if we do start breaking out, the price we really want to see it to get above is 550 to 560. And we zoom out, the reason is what we can see here is we've kind of been stuck below this. This is kind of, don't pay attention to it because it was short squeeze. I don't really count this, just remove it from your memory if you're thinking long term. We've really been stuck down here. It's kind of in this bottoming kind of pattern. Typically for the stock, when we zoom out, when we break down, we typically continue to break down, and we don't really have too many periods of moving sideways. The only time was this little part, and what ended up happening was multiple weeks of a breakout. And so coming into where we're at now, this is the first time we're bottoming since then. We had a kind of a bottom here, but that was off a short squeeze. But here we're really seeing a bottoming pattern, you know, and we're starting to see it a breakout above that bottoming range, which is 470 to 520. That's kind of that bottoming range, and we're starting to break out. And so if we can break above the 20-day, and we can break above this 550 to 560, which is kind of the top end of that bottoming range when we really look at it. We have a lot of kind of like had a hard time breaking out of there around that range in the past. And then here, when we broke below it, we basically headed lower. So if we can get back above that, this was just a bottoming phase and a zone to add shares. And we've seen this with a lot of stocks lately. We saw stocks break down about a month ago, hang down here, a lot of the mid cap and small cap, and now they're all starting to break back above and hold or go sideways around the price before the breakdown. And so we want to keep an eye on if root stock can get back above that. If it gets back above that, we see RSI get back above 50, come back and test it and stay up there. This could have been a bottoming phase for the stock, and it could be a buy. And we really look at the overall markets, SPY, QQQs. The SPY is really close to breaking out of all-time highs again. And so if we see SPY break out of all-time highs, it could potentially push positive momentum into names like root. Because people are getting, oh wow, the market's back to normal, we're not in a down period anymore. Okay, it's time for me to buy in these stocks that I like. And one of them that we know a lot of people love, has a big following, is root. And when root starts to move, it starts to get a lot of circulation on Wall Street Bets and other sites, and the shorts get squeezed. And if this is a bottoming pattern, and we do break out when we go back in the past, kind of similarly to here, if we have, you know, some big days, we're going to want to watch for a pattern change. And what we see here is that long line. And what we're starting to see here is kind of a line. So we'll have to see if we can get further breakout, kind of something like that over the next couple months. So that's kind of the price points I'm looking at, things I'm keeping an eye on. Let's actually look at the 50-day real quick. I actually don't want to end the video. I was going into the ending time of the video, but we look at the 50-day. 50 moving average is about at that range we were talking about to get above, and so we can see that we can see those prices there, which is 570, which is right above there, and then up at 590, so around $6. And then look at the 100-day, and we're just looking at these to figure out if there's some price targets more long term. If we do see a reversal, these can be potentially be price points. And what we want to do is we want to line up those with resistance. So not ironically, because we always say that, we see really big consolidation and resistance here, and look, it lines up with the 100-day. So if we do start to break out, and we can get above that zone we were talking about, we could see a nice uptrend around 750 at the minimum. So just be on alert for those price points. Keep those, put alerts on whatever app you trade on, so if it breaks below it or it breaks above something, you have an alert for it. And keep a lookout, because we could be seeing a reversal potentially. Nobody knows, but we know earnings is in a month and a half. Maybe people will be buying into things before earnings. That sometimes happens with stocks. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys. Thanks for stopping by. Please come around on Friday, 7:30 Central Time for the live stream. We're hanging out together. We have about 4 or 5 people, it seems, that have coming so far. So join the crew, and hopefully we can find some stock picks together. But I'll see you guys again Friday.